Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new week out there so far. We got a lot to cover in this morning's video, and we will continue to have a lot to cover going forward, and we'll be doubling up the videos. I think tomorrow night will be the only evening I will not be able to make a video because I will actually be traveling to Florida all day tomorrow, then traveling all the way back because I'm going to the bowl game. Big Gamecock fan. We play Illinois in Orlando. So I will have a morning video, but I will not have a nighttime video tomorrow night. Then after that, it's just full send ahead. So I just want to get that out there really quick for you guys. But we're going to go over the latest information that we have from overnight to this morning. We'll discuss the latest from the Climate Prediction Center. We'll talk about these temperatures, how cold could they potentially get. Obviously, the big topic, if you're a new viewer this morning, is this major pattern shift that's going to support very cold temperatures, even an Arctic air mass and winter storm chances. So we will speak on model guidance as far as how cold it could potentially get. And then we'll talk about the fan favorite, which is winter storm chances. And I do think this pattern coming up ahead of us is going to support snow for even areas of the south. So we'll speak on that. We'll compare all model guidance. We'll talk about the snow as far as the ensemble guidance. And just want to say this right off the dot, none of this is a forecast, guys. You know, we could get through this entire pattern and somehow the fail mode with all this is realized, unfortunately. That's just the way the weather works. But I can tell you the pattern supports winter weather for the South and for a lot of people. And we're not just going to talk about the South. So we're going to speak on all of this. We'll nerd out with you guys a little bit, really break down the pattern and why it supports such a favorable time period of winter weather and cold weather. After we get done doing that, we will talk about the weather for today, and then we'll wrap the video up. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. If you want to, stay tuned for the very end of the video. I'm just going to have a special message for you guys and just talk a little bit for about a couple minutes, more of a personal thing. If you don't care about that, don't blame me one bit, but stay tuned towards the very end of the video if you want to hear that. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center. If you've been tuning in for a while, I've been showing this right at the beginning of these updates because we're just watching how this evolves. This is from actual humans, the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center, and if they're saying it, then you know that this pattern has big time legs and it's likely going to evolve. This is the latest 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So if you live in this darker shade of blue right here, that's a 70% chance of temperatures being below normal for this time period. If you're wondering what this time period is, this is between the 4th and the 8th of January. You go this lighter shade of blue, that's a 60, this is 50, this is 40, and this is a 33% chance. And any place you see kind of this grayed out color, that is around an average chance of, well, I would say a chance of average temperatures. You're probably going to be sitting around average is what I'm trying to say temperature wise. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook as far as that. Now, what about precipitation? Now, kind of freeze this image in your head, right? Let's go to precipitation because a lot of people are thinking it's just going to be cold and dry. And listen, there's a possibility of that. I would say that is the fail mode if you're a winter weather fan, is that this is just a cold and dry air mass. I mean, you can't just completely rule it out. Precipitation-wise, okay? You match that up against the forecast for below average temperatures. They're going for above average precipitation that same time period, the 4th through the 8th of January. So if I click on this lighter shade of green basically means they're leaning towards wetter conditions. And in this case, it could be more wintry or snowier conditions. And this darker shade of green is a 40% chance of precipitation being above normal. So, you overlap, underlap it, and hey, you're matching up above average chances of precipitation with below average chances of temperatures. All right. Let's go back to temperature, and then let's go to the 8 to 14 day outlook. Confidence increases even more further out in the 8 to 14 day time period, and this takes us from the 6th to the 12th of January of below average temperature. So this purple shaded color is an 80% chance of temperatures being below normal. And listen, I think that this could get pulled back a little bit further west. I think there's a chance this cold air could dump, I would say, more significantly further out west. There's definitely a chance of that, but this shade of blue here, 70% chance. This is a 60. This is a 50, 40, 33. And once again, if you're in that grayed out area, you're going to be around average temperatures most likely. At least that's what their confidence is. So once again, you match this up with precipitation chances. Okay, now I want you to watch kind of the coastal areas. See how, areas of like the I-95 corridor points really east is leaning towards wetter conditions. And when I say wet, that doesn't mean I'm saying it's going to be rain. When I say wet, it could be snow. Snow is wet. You get what I'm saying? So below average temperatures mixed with above average precipitation. I mean, folks, that could be a winter storm in this area. And, most of Florida leaning towards wetter in this time period. That doesn't mean Florida's going to get multiple winter storms, but I wouldn't rule out snow in Florida in this setup. And so if you live from the coastal areas of Texas all the way up to the coastal areas of southern New England, they're leaning towards more of a chance for above average precipitation. Like I said, that grayed out area, you have a shot at around average precipitation. So if you get 0.6 of an inch of precipitation in that time period, I think what did I say, the 6th through the 12th, then who knows, that 0.6 of an inch of precipitation could be winter weather. And you think, man, that's not a lot. 0.6 of an inch of precipitation, when you convert it to snow, it could be 4 to 8 inches of snow, just depending on the snow ratio. So just remember stuff like that while we're going over this. And then I will wrap this up by showing you guys the 3 to 4 week outlook. There's the precipitation. And this takes us from I think the 11th through the 24th of January. They're leaning towards wetter conditions along the eastern seaboard, and you match that up against the temperatures, leaning towards, they're definitely calling for below average temperatures in the same time period. So I want you guys to remember, as we're about to go through model guidance, guys, this pattern is favorable for a long period of time. So just remember that as we kind of go through all this information. Let's talk about what we're the most confident in, and that's temperatures. And a lot of people probably just aren't thinking about this as much, but the temperatures with this setup coming up could be outright dangerous, especially for our folks here that got impacted by Helene in the mountains. People are still living in tents. This is going to be dangerous cold. So let's speak on it. So I think right after we turn into the new year, which here in the next couple of days, we're going to get a cold front. There's a cold front starting to move through the country right now. This is going to bring a period of below average temperature. So if you're confused of what time frames, days I'm talking about, I'll try to mention them as much as possible. And I can't make them really any bigger, guys. And I don't have the time to spend a whole lot of time editing my videos and stuff like that. This is about as raw, genuine as it gets here. But it says JAN stands for January 2, 2025, and it also says it up here. It even gives you the days of the week. So THU Thursday. All right. So below average temperatures are already settling in for a good chunk of the Southeast, all of the Southeast. That's not the main show. In fact, we could actually moderate the temperatures a little bit at some point. So we get into next weekend, below average temperatures for all the eastern U.S. The greenish color is like 10 to 15 degrees below average. The blue, like anywhere from 3 or 4 to as much as 8, 9, 10 degrees below average. As we move this forward, another shot of cold air moves in next weekend. And this sets the stage for even more well below average temperatures in the green. You're starting to see shades of like whitish purple, which is like getting close to 15 degrees below average or more. And to keep this going, this is the Euro Ensemble, one of the most reliable models out there in the world, if not one of the most reliable models. This is the moderation period I'm talking about. It could warm back up in the south central U.S. between both cold blasts. In fact, the first couple might not really even affect the south central U.S., talking about Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, that much. It could cool you down, but not that much. These will just continue to be looking to aim towards the eastern U.S. over and over again. But as we move forward here, the chance is there for a real Arctic front to really drop down the middle of the country about a week from today. And this is just kind of shot number one if you discount all the other shots that hit the eastern U.S. before this. So this is getting into Monday morning. Like I said, the green, 10, 15 degrees below average. Your average temperature is 50 degrees. And then you could have highs in the 30s. That's an example of that. These temperatures slam right down to the south central U.S. by the time we're into like midway next week, early to midway next week. I mean, you have almost countrywide cold. In fact, this is trending a little bit further west, so now it's cooling you guys off a little bit more on the latest Euro Ensemble. This is ticked west. across the Rockies, and it's starting to ooze throughout the Rockies now too, even cooling off a little bit more in the western U.S. But anyways, focusing in on this cold, this purplish white color, folks, I mean, guys, that's over 15 to almost 20 degrees below average in early January. Climate-wise, it's the coldest month of the year for most, if not everybody. And this just continues, guys. I mean, this is a huge area. It's trended colder overnight. And I mean, look, as we start to get to the end of next week, this is getting into the 9th, the 10th of January. These colors right here, folks, if you look at the key, probably kind of hard to see on your screen, you're getting close to 25 degrees below average. So St. Louis, say if your average high temperatures is around 40, 45 degrees, I mean, you got highs and closer to 20, maybe the teens. And just the core of this cold air mass continues to shift east. And I mean, look at this. This is not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, which this could change a little bit. Goodness, that is frigid air. And this is the ensemble, not some crazy operational run, the ensemble guidance. That is frigid Arctic air. Literally just looks like it throws the North Pole, the Arctic Circle, into the lower 48. These darker shades of purple, folks, I mean, that's getting, like I said, over 25 degrees below average. And this just hangs around through the length of the entire run. It's still with us. Moderates a little bit, but I mean, that green is still 10 to 15 degrees below average. Very, very cold temperatures. I mean, I'm talking about days on end of highs only in the 30s, even in the south. Much colder, obviously, to the north. So let's talk about what a lot of people are probably here for. And this is the snow chances, winter storm chances, things like that. Let's start off by speaking on the GFS. Now, I woke up this morning and I looked at the model guidance as far as the operational models, and I was a little bummed out. I was like, man, no fantasy runs to look at. But even me, even though I preach it to you guys, you can't just focus so much on the operational runs, the GFS, Euro. Yeah, look at the ensemble guidance. But even me, as a winter weather fan, as a weather fan, you know, I have emotional swings with it too. I'm right there with you. I just am able to realize also that you got to look at ensembles too. So we look at Saturday morning. This is 5 days from now, so pretty close to us. January 4th, same thing, guys. Dates up here. Kind of small, I know. And dates up here. Okay, because I'm going to miss saying some days. Not a whole lot going on in the country. We got lake effect snow. In fact, they already got winter storm watches up off Lake Erie in Ontario for what's to come with this lake effect snow. So you got the lake effect snows ongoing, a little bit of northwest flow. Yada, yada. Let's keep going here. We're starting to get into Sunday morning. Winter storm begins to develop over the middle of the country. And this could be a big one. It's trended a little bit back. It's trended back further north. Remember last night, if you tuned in, it ticked south. Now we're back to a big snowstorm for Iowa, snow all the way up to Minneapolis, snow all the way back to Dakotas, and this is a big icing event. Freezing rain is going to be indicated in the pink on the models I show you. Sleet's going to be indicated in the orange. You keep this going, guys. We got a winter storm breaking out across the Midwest. This would bring a decent winter storm into Milwaukee, Chicago. This would bring an icy mix across Indianapolis, and we'll go on and let's just go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. frame here. Here it is. This would just be a mixed bag of precipitation, nasty icy mix. Now, the latest GFS compared to the GFS run last night is actually ticked back south once it gets to the eastern U.S. The models are struggling with the extent of the 50-50 low up here in eastern Canada funneling in cold air from this and creating a cold air damming setup. So I really think there's the possibility as we get into the end of next weekend, early next week, January 5th, 6th, maybe 7th, we could get some ice on set with this setup, meaning we could start off with some freezing rain as far south as, heck, northeast Georgia, and then the western sections of North Carolina, maybe upstate South Carolina, sleet and orange. And then this delivers I would say, at least a moderate winter storm into the Delmarva, at least at first, Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, PA. This is a winter storm for Iowa, and then it kind of gets not sheared out a little bit. It kind of just weakens somewhat. So this just kind of turns into a light to moderate snow event for areas of the Northeast and New England. And then that's all she wrote with this system. Now, models are also picking up, and I'm going to switch it back to the central U.S. So if you people in Oklahoma, Texas, etc. tuning in, I'm not forgetting about you. The GFS likes another low to pop up here. Now, this is the moderation period, meaning this is the period between the first cold shot and then the second and third and fourth more impressive and more dangerous cold shot, I would add. It wants to pop up another low. This is just good old-fashioned rain for the most of the southeast. You get into the mountains west of the Alps, this could be a light to moderate snow event. Models are still everywhere. Models start showing this overnight. And who knows, that could turn into a system for the northeast. Now, this is getting to the time period where I've always liked. After we get past the first week of January, if you've been tuning in, excuse me, for a while, I've said it for almost, I'll feel like I've almost said it for 7 to 10 days now. I've always liked the first week, after the first weekend of January. I've never liked that storm that I just showed you for the South, at least. I think that could be a decent winter storm, if not a major winter storm, for areas of the Ohio Valley, Midwest, maybe even getting into the Northeast. Now, so let's switch it up to a wide view here again. Cold air coming down. You can see some energy coming off the Rockies. That northern stream energy is digging. Anytime you see moisture riding down the eastern spine of the Rockies, you know something's digging down here. And as it does, a little bit of energy begins to move into the Tennessee Valley in the form of some light snow. So many small-scale events with this as possible. It wants to pop off a low right here and then almost get something going. In fact, it does. It pops off a low pressure. It's snowing in the Outer Banks. You can barely see it. No point in zooming into this because I want to focus on what's to come. And then here comes the time period I like the most. We're getting into the 8th through the 12th time period. Okay, here comes some energy swinging down, tapping into some Gulf moisture. This is a miss for my folks in Texas, so I'm going to go on and zoom back into the eastern U.S. And then all of a sudden, after a bunch of lame model runs, I would say overnight, it begins to pop it off again. And we're waking up this morning to the GFS delivering a big-time snowstorm for the southeast and the entire eastern seaboard. So this is for example, the overnight period of the 9th into the 10th. It's snowing in Alabama. Folks, it's snowing all the way down to Pensacola, Mobile. Snow begins to move into Atlanta. It's snowing all the way down to the northern counties of the Panhandle of Florida. Great low pressure position. It could be a little bit closer, but I mean, that's such a strong, it's a 991 low. And I always like to spend a little extra time on these because I love seeing them. And I know people who are viewing love seeing this. It excites everybody and excites me too. And I don't want to be a thief of joy, guys, but just remember what you're seeing here is not a forecast. It's a time period I like, but it's not a forecast. And I just want to reiterate, please don't tell. This is what hurts me the most is when people tell their kids that such and such says it's going to snow on such and such date. I am sensitive when it comes to the kids. Don't tell the kids it's going to snow. People do that all the time. Don't do that. I know you're probably laughing at me, but I take that personal, guys. If you live in the South, I wouldn't even tell your kids it's going to snow. I would just open the screen door and say, hey, kids, it's snowing. Check it out. Don't tell them days in advance it's going to snow in the South. We know how much it changes, guys. Anyways, enough of that. I always got you a couple side stories. But let's get into Friday morning, not this Friday morning, next Friday morning. It's so far out. But remember, we were showing you these fantasy runs in like the 300 time frame at one point a few days ago. Now we're in the 200s. So we're getting a little closer. We're getting into Friday morning. We got a snowstorm for Georgia, the Carolinas, and it amps up even more. And my neck of the woods, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, snowing like crazy, snowing all the way up into the Carolinas, Virginia. Big hit for D.C. This would make everybody up the I-95 corridor very happy. And look at this wraparound snow all the way into South Carolina. And this brings a big winter storm all the way into the Northeast. And man, it tries to pop off another low right here. It's snowing like crazy off the coast of the Carolinas. Pretty wild stuff. And then we will switch it back to just a wide view of this. And a little bit of a wintry mix breaking out across the deep south. And then it pops. You think it's over, but it's not. We get into the 13th. Here's another winter weather event that gets going. And then another shot of cold air is diving down. It's just not done. The pattern just keeps reloading. And all of a sudden, we're getting a winter storm breaking out across northern Alabama, like getting into mid-month. And you still got energy dropping down. This is the end of the run. Tons of energy still dropping down, folks. But for my folks, in the Southeast, I will show it to you because I want to see it too. I can feel you, the excitement. This is a sick, in all the good ways, and what the cool kids say, a sick run for the Southeast. I mean, it dumps over a half a foot of snow on my neck of the woods. The PD of South Carolina gets over a foot in areas. And just a beautiful run. And we can only hope that something like this happens. Now, I know some people are like, man, why are you hoping for snow? I am not the person to watch if you absolutely hate winter weather and snow. I'm probably going to talk about it to the point of annoyance. I think you guys know that by now. But anyways, speaking on the Euro, guys, let's speak on this a little bit. The Euro is not going to show you any fancy stuff like the GFS. I'm going to tell you that right at the dot, but it shows a load of potential. And it's not always what it reflects at the surface, guys. It's what's under the hood that really counts in this. So we continue to move forward here. Winter storm develops as far west as the plains. I mean, you got a low developing very quick, popping off the Rockies, Kansas, Nebraska. Look at this winter storm ongoing, and this continues. You're getting a major winter storm in Missouri. Freezing rain in the pink. I mean, you're getting, remember the sleet. I'm losing energy here. The sleet is in the orange. And this is just a big storm. It's a little bit further south, at least initially on the Euro. And let's go on and switch it to the Eastern U.S. frame. And here it is. I mean, low is cutting. The pattern in this time frame supports a low pressure that cuts. Now, you do have a little bit of cold air damming setting up. You see how weird this looks? You see how you're getting a push of rain all the way up into Kentucky, West Virginia, and then it kind of loops down. You're probably thinking, why in the world does it do this? Well, low pressure is cutting, but you got cold air damming coming down east of the Alps. So there's colder temperatures at all levels of the atmosphere situated east of the Alps. But this is a big, calm ahead looking storm. You got a winter storm breaking out across St. Louis. It's just south of Chicago, ongoing across Illinois. You got snow to freezing rain across Indianapolis. I think that this is your opportunity for all these areas right here to get this winter storm. And because I think after this, the pattern could support more of just cold and dry. But this turns into a decent event for up to New York City and New Jersey. And doesn't quite make it up to Boston. But, man, this system is going to be tough to figure out on its own. And then what happens after that? Okay, let's switch it back to the United States view. What happens after this? The cold air settles in. All of a sudden, it begins to snow in southern sections of Texas. It's snowing all the way. And then for my folks in Texas, I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I want to show you guys the central U.S. too. It's snowing all the way down in Houston, Corpus Christi. But the cold air press is so intense that it squashes the moisture, but it delivers another one. The latest Euro wants to deliver a winter storm south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Austin points south. I mean, San Angelo, San Antonio. It wants to deliver a quick developing winter storm. Now, this looks like it's going to head right towards the deep south, but it gets squashed again. Winter weather getting into the 8th and the 9th and the 10th into Louisiana. Here comes the energy diving down. And what I can show you here is back to the eastern U.S. There is a ton of moisture hanging out in the Gulf of Mexico with plenty of cold air in the southeast. But it's having a hard time working its way north. So even though you're not getting the fancy model runs, the pretty blues, stuff like that, there is a huge low pressure lurking south in the same time period as the GFS. You know, somewhere between the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th of January, which seems far away, but folks, that'll be on us before we know it. It's so close that it's breaking out snow from Myrtle Beach to Wilmington. And it's actually close enough where it brings heavy snow into those areas. That's how close it is. Low pressure here. You push this another 200 miles to the west, and we have a major winter storm for the Carolinas and even Georgia. Okay, so it shows just a monster winter storm right off the coastline. So even though you're not getting the pretty run out of this, it's there. There's something there. It's right there. You move it into the cold air, it's a big winter storm. And then what comes after this? We'll switch it to that broad view again. Anything come after this? Yes, it does. You know, we get way out there after the 300-hour time frame. Here comes a quick-hitting winter system right here, delivering winter weather across the Mississippi Valley all the way into the Mid-South. And, you know, it breaks out snow across and getting into the Carolinas, even my neck of the woods. And then it looks like it's about to gear up another storm right at the end of the run. So, man, there's a lot going on, guys. And even the Euro is about to deliver another cold air press down. So it just keeps going. There's a large window. It's not like you get a 2-day window to score and then it just warms right back up. That's not what this pattern supports, guys. So if we look at the Euro AI model, remember I showed you this last night if you tuned in, and just remember with the Euro AI model, it doesn't show us the precipitation colors. It just shows everything in green. So it looks like it's raining, but a lot of these areas it's snowing or icing or whatever it may be. So here comes that first storm system with the Euro AI model. All right, this is not what I want to focus in on with this model. This shows exactly what the other models show with this. This moves out. It's what comes after this in the same time period, after the first weekend of January. Okay, 8th, 9th, 10th, give or take a day, that time period. See that 0 degree line? That doesn't mean it's 0 degrees at the surface. This is the freezing line above the surface. And this is in Celsius, not in Fahrenheit. 0 degrees Celsius above the surface, 850 millibars, which is 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. Okay, but don't focus too much on that. Here comes this Gulf low, and I do want to start off by showing the central U.S. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. This is a winter storm for portions of Texas, Louisiana, getting into Mississippi. The temperatures support it. So you see green, but I want to show you, and let's go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. I want to show you the temperatures in the same time period. The green is precipitation, but look at the temperatures. They're in the 20s. That is snow. That is snow. We'll flip it back to this. All right. Snow. That's 20s. And then we move this forward. Major winter storm for the Carolinas and Georgia, getting into the mid-Atlantic all the way up into the Northeast, the 9th into the 10th. Okay, same time period as the Euro and the GFS is showing. I'll stop it right here, folks. Okay, let's just look at the Southeast. No, that's the South Central U.S. That's the Southeast. Okay, look at the precipitation falling, and look at the temperatures that it's falling in. Okay, I know it says 30s, but the temperatures aloft are very cold. This is a snowstorm in the Carolinas. So, I'm telling you, after the first weekend of January, that's the time period to watch. I'm not saying we're going to get a winter storm. I'm saying that's really the time period to watch. Now, let's talk about ensemble guidance as far as snow. We'll start this off in the central U.S. first, and then we'll go to the eastern U.S. Remember, timestamps up throughout the entire video. You don't have to wait if you don't want to. If you want to watch all 45 minutes of my video, you are an absolute unit, a trooper, and I appreciate you. But we're going to start this for Friday, January the 3rd. Okay, this is the first system that's going to move in over the next couple days. Not focusing too much on that. Watch as we get into the 5th, the 6th. Remember, timestamps are up here. January 6th, January, Tuesday. So getting into, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. Snow is beginning to increase. The snowfall signal is beginning to increase southward. And by the time we get to the end of the run, 360 hours out, all the way to the evening of January 13th, you all of a sudden have an inch or more snowfall, as far south as Dallas-Fort Worth, begins to creep south into the east, especially as we get into the eastern U.S., and that is a heavy snowfall signal into this area right here. Okay, now let's look at the GFS ensemble. Let's see, we might have the run from 06Z. We'll see how far out this goes. Same thing, guys, and this might not go all the way to the length of the run. Watch how it increases as we get into this coming weekend with that snowstorm, that winter storm that impacts the area. And let's see how far out is it going to go. It is only going to go out 276 hours out. So let's go on and switch it back to the 06Z. Let's go to the length of the run. You can see that even though the Euro and the GFS showed winter weather pretty far south, there is a very low signal for it on the ensemble guidance. But anyways, don't be, if you want winter weather and you live in South Texas, the pattern could support it. So, don't get really upset about hardly no snowfall mean down here. But Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's not as high as the Euro ensemble or like, say, Arkansas. But up here, there's a heavy signal for snowfall in these areas. But, where it has a snowfall signal up here, for like Minnesota, you might not get much of any snow. So we just got to watch. Now, I do want to show something. I'm going to do it on the fly because I forgot to pull it up. Let's go to Pivotal Weather. Pivotal Weather has this really cool thing where it actually shows an ice average, an ice mean, if you will, because I do think we're going to get some ice out of some of these areas. I'm going to switch it to this. I'm sorry I'm doing this on the fly. It's not always a well-oiled machine on my channel, and honestly, I'd rather it be like that. And look, I'm everywhere, guys. Let's go to the EPS. Switch it to that, switch it to this. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. Bear with me. I can hear y'all screaming at me. Maybe, I hope not. But this is the ice average. Let's go all the way just to the end of the run. That is dangerous amount of ice showing up on the ensemble mean from this storm. So this tells us that there is, with this storm system coming this weekend, there is going to be an icing element to it. I mean, your average off all 50-something runs is over a quarter inch of ice in Missouri and sections of Illinois, and look at northern Kentucky. So this tells me that there's going to be an ice storm element to the storm coming up this coming weekend. I'm telling you guys, that is a strong signal for freezing rain. So just remember that. Now let's switch it to the Euro ensemble. We'll start it off the morning. This is 6 days from now. So next Sunday morning, January the 5th. Once again, days are up here. The months are up here. And then over here too. Not a high signal. The signal increases after the first weekend of January. And everything begins to bog southward. And the snowfall average begins to increase after that. I mean, and then you get, and it's not as crazy, as impressive of an EPS run as, say, yesterday. But listen, this is going to go back and forth. The models are going to pull the rug out from under us, and they're going to give it right back. That's how it works when you're trying to figure out a winter storm threat. But that's still an impressive snowfall mean down to the Carolinas and to the deep south. And then sections of the mid-south, and then it increases even more. I mean, it's a very strong signal for very, very heavy lake effect snow, maybe crippling lake effect snow, northwest flow, and then you just mix all the options and the opportunities for deep south winter storms down here, and that's why you have such an impressive snowfall average pretty far south. And folks, this doesn't include ice either. Okay, and once again, and I actually can just do this. This will save us a little bit of time. We can look at this and we can go that, not that, this. And we can look at the signal for ice, same thing in this time period. And there is a little bit of signal for ice even down here for Georgia and the Carolinas. Now it's high, but this is for that first system this coming weekend. There is a signal for freezing rain in this area, in those favorable cold air damming regions. So let's switch it to the GFS ensemble. We're only going to look at the one from OOZ, and then we'll try to see how far out the 06Z is running, which it still is running right now. Same thing, folks. You start off this coming Sunday morning, and everything begins to creep south after that. And here it comes. It's after we get past the first weekend of January. That's when the snowfall average begins to increase for the southeast and the deep south, and we take it all the way through the length of the run. And this takes us all the way to the evening of the 14th. And I still think there's still members firing off here. Not as impressive, say, as the Euro ensemble, but I think this is going to bounce back and forth. It's a pretty solid signal to the north, though. And I haven't mentioned this a lot, but honestly, I'm pulling for my folks in the north to get this winter storm, because what that is going to do is it's going to create snowpack to the north, which is only going to help our cold air filtration south for winter storms on down the road. Now, this is the latest GFS ensemble 06Z, and it only goes 300 hours out. But, still creeping south at this point. You compare that to the OOZ at this point, and, it's around the same. Maybe not quite as impressive for certain areas, maybe more for other areas. But we're still watching this, guys, and I think that this is just going to bounce back and forth a lot. There's going to be people who's going to get bummed out because it's not going to show this for this time period, and then it'll come back. Don't let your emotions swing too much one way or the other. But to kind of nerd out with you guys with the pattern, this first trough digging through, same thing, time frames up here. This first trough coming through is just going to bring a shot of cold air. So this is going to bring a little bit bigger than that. Let's look at this. Yeah, there we go. So this is just going to bring a shot of cold air down the backside of this trough. And we got high latitude blocking up here. We got this system about to move through into the western U.S. This will set the stage for a winter storm across the middle of the country. And as we continue to move forward here, this first trough turns into like a 50-50 low. So what's going on at this point is this trough is way out here. We have a 50-50 low influence. This is pushing cold air down this way. Okay, we have this blocking mechanism right here, this negative NAO ridging up in to basically just the high latitudes. We got blocking up here. We got this ridge spiking all the way up to Alaska. This is dislodging cold air also from the higher latitudes coming in this way. So this is all feeding our storm system right here, which is what's going to cause a winter storm across the Midwest all the way into sections of the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, maybe Mid-Atlantic, heck, maybe even upper sections of the Southeast. And this blue is lower pressure, okay? You can think of it as a trough of low pressure, and then the warmer colors is ridging, high pressure. So feeding into that storm, but it's really not until after we get past this when the pattern becomes ripe for winter weather across even the south, but it's still going to be favorable across the entire eastern seaboard. And as we progress through the time period that I like, and I'll stop it right here, this is around the 9th and the 10th of January, we got this spiking ridge. Okay, we call it a positive PNA, negative EPO, ridge spiking through the entire western U.S., Canada, all the way up to Alaska. We got cold air being dislodged south. A lot of cold air coming down. Okay, we still got what looks like almost kind of a 50-50 low over here. So this is throwing some cold air south. We got high latitude blocking. This is kind of causing a lot of our energy to stay down here to the south. This is clogging up sort of the energy to the south down here. Okay, next thing we watch for is pieces of energy riding down this ridge, coming out of Canada, dropping down. Also think our southern stream will get somewhat active. Not as active as the northern stream. As these pieces of energy that I drew in the X come down, they will meet around this X, give or take an X, and then they'll have an opportunity to develop into a winter storm into this area as we get after the first weekend of January, I think. Now, it's not a forecast from Mitch West. That's just a little bit of hopeful thinking, but also a lot of it's driven off how the pattern supports it. Cold air is coming down into this. Those pieces of energy riding down the spine of the ridge. And there'll be an opportunity here for a lot of people. A lot of people here. And this pattern continues through the length of the run. We begin to lose it at the very end, but I mean, all favorable patterns must come to an end at some point. And talking about the energy in the atmosphere, this is the first trough. You see how all of the greenish white colors are, pushed off to the east and the north? That's because all this is northern stream dominated. But here comes our system that will get a winter storm going across the middle of the country. This will move into the northeast, and then the trough will drop down. And this is what I like to see if you want a winter storm across the south and for a lot of people. Look at this extension of this energy right over here. This tells me that the southern stream is starting to get active. We got plenty of northern stream digging down here, but you see this energy over here. This is trending a little bit more aggressive. This is coming down. They're going to have an opportunity to meet and then turn into a larger system as we progress forward. All right, and that is because this trough backs up to the west. And this continues, guys, and there'll constantly be opportunities of energy meeting here. There'll be opportunities of lighter events too, where it's just maybe northern stream dominated, but regardless, you start to get into the first full week of January, there's going to just be tons of opportunities there. Now, is this going to consolidate into one big opportunity for a winter storm? It could. Is it going to be multiple smaller events? Is it going to be multiple larger events? Is it going to be nothing? I think that's a possibility. I think the first storm system is going to happen next weekend. After that, man, we don't know. But that's an update on that. Let's talk about today's weather. Don't want to leave you guys hanging with this. We got just a nasty mix, not a lot of cold air to work with going across southern Ontario. It could be snowing in some of these areas. This is a surge of rain across southern New England, the northeast. The southeast is a nice start, going to warm up nicely today. And then we got this system that's going to kickstart the first cold front. This is rain for the Nebraska right now, but this could switch to snow in Nebraska later on today. Snowing in portions of the western Dakotas. We got some snow moving across the Rockies, and that's what's going on right at this second. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Winter weather advisories across South Dakota. Getting into Nebraska, we got avalanche warnings across the Rockies of Colorado and across a lot of areas. And we got just numerous alerts out here in Montana. Expires in about 12 hours, and give or take some hours for certain areas. We got winter storm watches across areas of the Cascades, and yeah, so a lot of winter weather ongoing. The higher elevations of the Rockies, lower elevations not so much. Not even a chance of any thunderstorms today or excessive rainfall. So looks like we're just about done with the severe weather for the foreseeable future. The southeast today, we're going to skim through this pretty quick. There's ain't really anything going on. Maybe some scattered downpours along the southeast Florida coastline. outside of that, pretty quiet weather. As we're waking up tomorrow morning, though, we could get some thunderstorms greeting you guys down here in southeast Georgia, northern Florida, maybe some showers crossing the southern Alps, but pretty quiet next 24 hours. It's a rocky start for southern New England this morning, but this rain will clear out. We'll begin to take over a good chunk of Maine. This will be rain, not snow, but rain. But don't worry, cold air is coming if you're a winter weather fan. Could get some cold air that oozes through, a little bit of snow shower activity in the Adirondacks, but a pretty quiet next 24 hours after this rain moves out that we're dealing with right now. South Central U.S., quiet weather. Nothing really to speak on. Some rain will move into northern Missouri. This could mix with a little bit of snow later on tonight. I don't think it'll be a big deal as far as winter weather, though. But everybody else, quiet. And then the north central U.S., this system will dive through. This is this afternoon. Some snow will be falling around across areas of southern South Dakota. This will switch to some moderate to maybe even heavy snow at times in the northern counties in Nebraska. Could even switch to some snow all the way down to Omaha this evening. Lincoln, even all the way to Des Moines could get some snow. But this is just a quick hitting system embedded into the ridge. Could get a rain-snow mix in like northern Indiana. Tomorrow morning we'll see what happens. But snowfall between now and the next 48 hours. A few inches of snow is possible in these areas. Here's the key down here. Pierre going for an inch and a couple tenths. Rapid City, a few inches. And then even for our friends down here in, say, Nebraska, maybe an inch or so of snow in the northern counties. They're not really calling for much in Lincoln and Omaha, but that doesn't mean you couldn't see some snow flying around out here. The western U.S. dealing with this snow across areas of Wyoming. I think we'll continue to deal with some of this snow throughout the period. And just to kind of switch this and look at Wyoming, because I do have a loyal viewer that sends me beautiful pictures in Wyoming every week. This is how much snow you're expecting in Wyoming over the next 48 hours. The Lamprey Range could definitely get some snow. Casper, 2 inches, but certainly favored in these higher elevated regions here. Bighorn Mountains definitely can get several inches of snow. But everybody else, quiet. Temperatures, what it looks like, are definitely warmer across the east. This will not be here much longer, so enjoy somewhat of the warmth. And then out west, it's going to be a warm day. A little bit of weird discoloring right here. 80s across Texas, and definitely locked into the cold still across the northern sections of the country. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Quick message, though, and man, this is literally going to be 45 minutes long. I just want to say thank y'all for the amazing support over the last few days. I hit 90,000 subscribers overnight, and I'm very behind on comments. And if things continue to be as busy as it's looking like it's going to be, I think I'm just going to get flat out behind on comments. I don't think I'm ever going to get caught up. So I'm going to miss prayer requests. Those mean a lot to me, And luckily we have hundreds of prayer warriors in the comments praying for your prayer needs. That's a very important, if not the most important thing with this channel. The glory goes with God with this. And it hurts me a little bit. It hurts me a lot that I get so behind. I'm behind on all Facebook, on all platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you call it. So if I miss your comments, your questions, it's not personal. One thing with this channel is I've always strived to engage with every single comment. But I always knew there would come a time, at least periods of time, where it's too much to keep up with. And this is a period of time that's already started where it's getting a little bit too much for me to keep up with. If you're a new viewer, I have a family. I have 2 little girls, my wife. I have a full-time job. YouTube is not my full-time job. I have a regular 40-hour-a-week job. So it's all about balance. And I think God reminds me of that every single day. In fact, I think he challenges me to remember that. So I have to remember that. So I'm going to get behind sometimes, but I thank y'all for so much for the support. And even the negative feedback, you gotta thank your haters, right? So it's gonna come with the territory. But God bless all y'all. Appreciate the support, and I really do, and hope that we can reel in a winter storm for people who want it across the South. I hope this pattern materializes, and it's gonna be rough if it doesn't, but we'll get past that if it does. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful Monday, and I'll talk to you again this evening.